Welcome to the May 1st Eclipse OpenJ9 community call, where we kick off every week, of course, with opening it up to the broader audience for any topics of discussion that might be of interest to the broader community. And any suggestions around lightning talks. Shelley, after our conversation last week, I've penciled either you or Lan in for the call next week to talk about either the AQA, the TRSS, or some of the latest test features.
Okay, great. Thanks, Dan. I'll let you know shortly which one I'll choose to be first.
Okay, excellent. If there are other topics that people would like to talk about or get included on this list, please let me know. I think it would be really good to share some of the other interesting things going on in the project more broadly. Why don't we jump into taking a look at the user-raised issues then? We had another performance issue raised. I suspect this one may be related to the way the benchmark has been written. I believe that it's actually testing GC performance, and so what matters most is the heap sizes here, but waiting for some confirmation on command line options to be able to really confirm that. This one I haven't looked at in a little bit, so I'm not sure what the state is. All right, so this looks like it may not looks like it may be related to the particular IDE that the user is using, so we'll continue to monitor that. The long pause in the sweep phase, so that I suspect Alex is already involved with and helping make sure that the right things are happening. Okay, so it's an issue with the metronome GC, and in particular use cases, the pauses are higher than expected.
Dan, this list doesn't include the LWJGL one that was raised at Adopt, does it? So that's not being tracked here.
No, it's not being tracked here. We should really move that issue over here to OpenJ9. There is somebody on my team who's been looking at that and helping out with it.
Is that Mike?
Mike. I'll need to follow up with him because I don't know what the status of that is off the top of my head. Segmentation error. Not sure what this one is. Is this Pete? I see that you've been looking at this, and it looks to be potentially a crypto issue.
Well, I just pinged Alon, and Jerry's a student, so he's gone. So we're waiting for Alon to take a look at it.
All right. Segmentation error 013, which is clearly a JIT crash from the VM state. All right, I'll have to follow up with Yi and potentially Andrew, and see where we're getting to with some of these. Confusing verify error. I believe we have a patch for that. I just need to finish off the reviews there. And that's the ones that we haven't discussed since the last time. Are there any other issues here that we want to talk about on this call? All right, and switching back to our agenda. As we look, our next release coming up is 0.15, targeting JDK 8, 11, and 12. The release date is July. Got links to the Eclipse plan and the milestone here. And the branch date that we've set so far for the milestone is June 24th. So we need our reality check dates. Trying to think of which other ones we have historically tracked. I thought there were 3. I'll have to check previous minutes. Unless somebody else remembers what the other dates were. There was a milestone build. That's what I'm missing in here. It's usually after the branch, though. All right. Are there any things that we want to discuss around the 0.15 release? If I bring up the plan, we've got just shy of 60 items in this plan already. And so we're going to have to start whittling some of this down to make sure that we're completing the work that needs to be done for this release, especially as we start to run into summer months. All right. I know we've been tracking the JDK Next repo is built but not tested. Does anyone know what the status of getting the test to run on the JDK Next repo is?
I think Lan put a comment there that said there just needs to be a change to not look for a capital N and then next in one of the files, but I'll have to check the actual issue. It seems like a minor change that should be required.
Yeah, I think that solves a new issue, but I think that'll only get us back to the previous issue.
So what is the actual?
I'm not sure.
Okay, because Pete, you talked to Lan to find out if there was anything from test side holding up, and
Yeah, all she mentioned was the
only
uppercase,
item
lowercase.
I thought. Yeah. Okay, I'll follow up today just to make sure things are done from our side.
If somebody has the link to the issue for the uppercase versus lowercase n, I can paste that in. It'd be appreciated.
Yeah, it's different in 2 spots apparently. So that's the that's one of the blockers apparently. Case insensitive is what we'll go with.
Right. So then if we look at the retrospective we ran after the 0.14 release, one of the issues was the extension merge process and the length of time that took. I know Andrew and others have been involved in speeding that up. Do we have a rough timeline on how long that merge process takes these days? Are we down to the sort of less than 1 hour we had been targeting?
Yeah, I think Andrew, when he tested the JDK Next one, said the merge process was down to about 20, 25 minutes.
Okay, that is great to hear.
So the JDK Next is being merged daily to master, and then the changes get merged into a OpenJ9 staging branch, and I've opened an issue to create an acceptance build. So we would test the JDK, the OpenJ9 staging branch, and if all the tests pass, then that would get merged into OpenJ9.
Okay.
So the next up was to fix the older versions of Java to also do the merging daily. Although there's going to be a lot fewer changes coming into Java 8, Java 11, Java 12. Probably very few or no changes coming into Java 12.
Okay.
And then, of course, the testing issues we were talking about earlier affect running that acceptance build on JDK Next.
This is the merge to master promote to. All right. So branch earlier. So we've been doing that. I think we can cross that off our list of things to track. And the build and test, the release and the master at OpenJ9. Have we been able to do that during the 0.14 release? Are there additional things we need to do to make that more possible?
Sorry, I missed what the thing was.
Build and test both the release and the master branch.
We didn't do a lot of testing on the release branch. I would test it on the weekend, and all the changes were first tested in the master branch and before going into the release branch. So I would do some spot checks on a subset of platforms when something went in, and then whenever I had time on the weekend, I would run a full test.
Okay.
It sort of depends on what changes get delivered and when they get delivered, and if there's a weekend available. Anyways, it all worked out for the last release.
Do you think we need a more regular process here, or is this dependent on having more machines?
Yeah, we're quite limited. Like our night starts at 10 p.m. and at 8 a.m. there's likely to be an AIX test still running, just from testing master. So some machines, some platforms, we might be able to test the release or a subset of the release. I found there wasn't much point in testing 12 because it's barely different than 11, right? If something was going to break, unless we had a change that was specific to 12, anything would probably be caught by the 11 tests. So we could maybe do a subset of Java 8, Java 11 on certain platforms. We'd have to try it and see how it fit in.
Okay.
But we had so few changes going into 0.14 at the end that, and of course they were already tested in the master branch. So
yeah, that's sort of the ideal. So.
Keep in mind we've been down an AX machine for like at least a month now, so we should have that one back today or tomorrow.
Yep.
And then we could see how much it changes.
I think it's already re-enabled, but then there was another machine down temporarily.
Okay.
But like AIX Mac, there's only 4 machines. Windows, we have 6. Z Linux, we only have 4, but they're fast. P Linux, we have quite a few. P Linux is the platform I like to choose when we're trying something new, because there's quite a few machines and they're pretty fast. Whereas X Linux, we have quite a few machines, but they're slow.
Okay.
Is it worth giving guidance to committers?
Well, the committers
Most
need to test.
people would notice, I guess.
Yeah, they may not care because they're not necessarily waiting for a build to finish. They might start a build and check it the next day. Plus, they need to test on the platforms that are affected, right? If you have an x86 JIT change, it needs to be tested on an x86, no matter how slow the machines are.
Yeah, I get it.
All right. The regular adopt update. Shelley, if I can hand that over to you.
Yeah, just a quick one here. I guess we a couple of weeks ago delivered some of the first prep work for the Aqua stuff. We have some follow-up deliverables now to work on, so that's a focus for us. So the folks in Hersley and such in London are prepping for DevOps, which is coming up very shortly, I think the week of May 7th, because there are some talks and workshops going on there. I guess the only other new stuff from last time I gave an update might be that we're looking at expanding the Docker images that are produced from the project. Currently, I think we have some Ubuntu-based stuff. There's been a request for Debian and talk of also a UBI-based one. So look to see some of that work happening in the next few weeks, I think. That's probably all I have for now.
Okay. Shelley? For the next item around being able to create contributor teams, there's continued slow progress on the Eclipse side. No sort of ETA or timeline to have the availability of this, so I will continue to monitor that and make sure that we get included as a early adopter to see how well we can make use of this for OpenJ9. All right. In terms of machines, Adam, if I can hand that over to you.
Sure. Okay, so yeah, that AX machine just got re-enabled either last night or this morning. Joe was testing the fix. So now that that's working, we should go ahead and renew all our leases for another year. We have the proper code to do so now. So we might get that done next week. The expiration, I think, is May 13th, so we have a little bit of time left. Our usage is pretty steady in terms of master disk usage. I did a bunch of cleanup on the old builds. I expect once we switch over to the new style pull requests, we'll drop a little bit more. Not much update there. When are we going to switch over the pull request? Probably late this week or probably next week now. Still doing some changes and trying to get a change from VLED in before we deliver that. We are also reinvestigating the Artifactory times because some have appeared to drop over what we initially observed. So the worst ones are AX and Z-Linux. So AX is now 16 minutes up and down, whereas it was good before. So it's sort of dropped to where it was when we were uploading to Jenkins Master. So that's sort of interesting. And same thing with Z-Linux. It's fine on the download, but on the upload, it's dropped to about 10 minutes, which is where it was when we were on Jenkins Master. The UNB times both seem to be fine for all platforms. The issue with UNB is when we seem to have all the tests kicking off at once, and we're getting up to, say, 12 download requests. Some of them aren't getting through and are failing. So the test team has added a retry on the curl, and that seems to have solved the problem for now. But it's sort of a Band-Aid solution. So I was investigating Artifactory today to see if we could set up some more monitoring. So I'll update with that next week probably.
I don't know that the retries completely solved the problem. When we had a 30-second retry time, it didn't fix it. We tried 3 minutes and it seemed better. And then we were supposed to change it to 5 minutes, and we haven't had any results from that yet.
Yeah, that change has gone in, so we're at 5 minutes now. So I guess we'll watch and see. But I think you put a note there, Pete, right? You're probably not an ideal situation.
Right.
Yeah, it'd be better for Artifactory to work the first time so we don't have to retry it all.
Yeah.
We didn't get any builds last night. Seems like Jenkins fell over. So even if we had the 5-minute retry, everything failed anyways.
Okay. So we'll keep an eye on it.
Did it go, am I right, at the 3 minutes it kind of dropped to like 1 in 6 or something?
Yeah, I mean, we have very small samples here. So when we had 30 seconds, we still had about 6 failures. When we had 3 minutes, we only had 1 failure. But that's based on one night.
Yeah, okay. So we need to watch it more, I guess. Okay.
I think that's it for me unless there's more questions.
Are we still looking at trying to get more AX machines?
I asked Stuart from Adopt if they had any update on that, and he hasn't had a chance. So I think our only option is to go back to where we're getting them right now, which we could do, but that would mean more money. So I haven't gone down that road yet.
Okay, it might be worth having that conversation offline about how much more money and how many more machines we need to see where we can get to with that.
Sure.
If we get a good build tonight, we can see with 4 good AX machines, we can see how long the builds take. So with only 3 machines, it seems to take about 10 hours to get through everything.
In terms of the next topic here, Sue, is there anything you want to bring up?
For the website, I think it might be worth trying to get Sean along to one of these meetings just to present the very latest wireframe on what he suggests the pages should look like. He's posted quite a few issues into the website GitHub repo, and some people have commented on those favorably or to ask questions. Other people there's no comments there, which may be that they had no comment to make or they haven't looked. I did at one point create a whole list of things that had been requested to be changed on the website since it first went out, which I could see were missing from the new design, to try and get people to kind of say, oh yeah, we asked for that, we still need that. But that didn't get any comments from anyone. So I think if we could get him to come along and show the pages again and take a look at the list of the differences between what we've got now and what we've got then, we can try and nail this down so that when we have someone come on board in July, we can make a proper start on it with everything that needs to be done on the requirements list. Would you like that to be part of this meeting, or maybe a separate meeting?
I'd be happy to have that be part of this meeting. May 8th, we have the lightning talk at the start. But if we wanted to try to aim for the one after that, that would probably be a good point.
Okay, well, I will get in touch with Sean and see what his availability is, and then see if we can schedule him into one of those slots. So I'll be in touch about that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Is there any other business that people want to discuss today? All right. And just before we close it out, I'd like to say a big thanks to Pete for the constant rebooting of Jenkins while we work through this issue with Eclipse. So, thank you there for constantly restarting things and keeping builds mostly working. All right. Then on that note, we'll chat again on this call next week. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.